August 20th, 2012, a date that marked the end of an era for Ethiopia. Meles Zenawi, a leader whose vision shaped the nation for over 2 decades, was suddenly gone. His death sent shockwaves across the country and left a power vacuum that would challenge Ethiopia's future. What unfolded in the years after his passing? Today, we take an in-depth look at Ethiopia's journey, from political shifts to economic struggles and the rising tensions that continue to shape its path. Join us as we explore the legacy of Meles Zenawi and the pivotal events that have defined Ethiopia since his untimely death. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more insightful stories like this. What happened to Ethiopia? After Meles Zenawi's sudden death, Meles Zenawi, Ethiopia's long-serving prime minister, passed away suddenly on August 20th, 2012. His death marked a turning point in Ethiopia's political, social, and economic landscape. In today's video, we delve into the aftermath of his passing and how Ethiopia's trajectory changed in the years that followed. Meles Zenawi came to power in 1991, leading the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, after the overthrow of the Derg regime. Known for his sharp intellect and vision, he spearheaded Ethiopia's rapid economy. Meles's death shocked the nation. For months before, rumors had swirled about his health, but the official confirmation still caught many off guard. His deputy, Hailemariam Desalegn, was sworn in as prime minister, becoming the first non-Tigrayan leader in Ethiopia's modern history. Hailemariam's appointment was meant to signal continuity. However, his leadership style and lack of a strong power base within the ruling coalition left him in a precarious position. Under Hailemariam, Ethiopia experienced increasing political unrest. Meles had maintained an iron grip on the country, often criticized for authoritarian tendencies, but his absence created a power vacuum. Ethnic tensions, long simmering under the surface, began to erupt. Protests in Oromia and Amhara regions intensified, fueled by grievances over land rights, representation, and government policies. The government's response was heavy-handed. The Irrecha Festival, a significant cultural and religious event for the Oromo people, is celebrated annually to mark the end of the rainy season and express gratitude for the harvest. On October 2nd, 2016, during Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn's tenure, the festival in Bishoftu turned tragic when a confrontation between security forces and attendees led to a deadly stampede. In the years leading up to 2016, Ethiopia experienced widespread protests, particularly in the Oromia region, where demonstrators expressed grievances over political marginalization, land rights, and government policies. These tensions were present during the 2016 Irrecha Festival, where attendees began chanting anti-government slogans and crossing their wrists above their heads, a gesture symbolizing resistance. As the protests intensified, security forces responded with tear gas, rubber bullets, and, according to some reports, live ammunition to disperse the crowd. This aggressive response caused panic among the millions of attendees, leading to a chaotic stampede. Many individuals fell into ditches, were trampled, or drowned in a nearby lake while attempting to flee. The Ethiopian government reported 55 deaths, but opposition groups and human rights organizations estimated the death toll to be much higher, with some suggesting it exceeded 100. In the wake of the tragedy, the Ethiopian government declared 3 days of national mourning. Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn expressed condolences, but also accused people that prepared to cause trouble for the incident. The government's handling of the situation drew international criticism, with calls for an independent investigation into the excessive use of force by security personnel. The Irrecha incident intensified existing anti-government sentiments, leading to further protests and unrest across the Oromia region. In response, the Ethiopian government declared a state of emergency on October 9, 2016, granting security forces expanded powers to suppress dissent. This measure included restrictions on freedom of expression, assembly, and movement, and led to thousands of arrests. Al Jazeera human rights organizations condemned the government's actions during and after the Eureka Festival. Human Rights Watch reported that the security forces' response to the festival was a catalyst for the tragic events, highlighting the need for accountability and reforms to prevent such incidents in the future. The 2016 Eureka tragedy had a profound impact on the Oromo community, deepening mistrust between the populace and the government. It also galvanized further protests and demands for political reforms, contributing to significant political changes in Ethiopia in the subsequent years, including the resignation of Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn in 2018 and the appointment of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who initiated various reforms aimed at addressing the concerns of the Oromo and other marginalized groups. In summary, the events at the 2016 Eureka Festival underscore the deep-seated tensions between the Ethiopian government and the Oromo people during Hailemariam Desalegn's leadership. The tragic loss of life during a cultural celebration highlighted the urgent need for political reforms and respect for human rights in Ethiopia. And the Amhara region faced significant challenges during Hailemariam Desalegn's tenure as Prime Minister, 2012 to 2018. Many in the Amhara region felt marginalized under the ethnic federalist system established by the EPRDF, Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, which they believed favored the Tigray region and the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, TPLF, disproportionately. One of the major sources of unrest was the demand to reclaim areas like Wolkite and Raya, historically associated with Amhara, but incorporated into the Tigray region under the federal system. This dispute led to heightened tensions between the Amhara and Tigrayan populations. The period saw a surge in Amhara nationalism, with calls for greater autonomy and a stronger voice in the federal government. Many Amharas demanded an end to what they perceived as TPLF dominance in Ethiopian politics. Massive protests erupted in the region, particularly in Gondar and Bahir Dar, over issues of land, governance, and ethnic representation. These protests were part of a larger wave of anti-government demonstrations that also included Oromia. A group called the Wolkite Identity Committee emerged, advocating for the return of Wolkite to the Amhara region. This movement garnered widespread support among the Amhara population. The federal government, under Hailemariam's leadership, responded with heavy-handed measures, including arrests, killings, and a state of emergency declared in October 2016. This only deepened resentment in the region. Security forces were accused of using excessive force against protesters in the Amhara region. Human rights organizations reported widespread arrests, killings, and suppression of political activists. Media outlets and political movements in the region were restricted, with opposition figures being imprisoned or forced into exile. Many Amharas, including members of the ruling coalition's Amhara branch, the Amhara National Democratic Movement, ANDM, began to distance themselves from the federal government's policies. The ANDM gradually evolved into a more assertive voice for Amhara interests. New political groups advocating for Amhara rights and identity began gaining prominence, signaling a shift in the region's political landscape. Despite Ethiopia's rapid economic growth during this period, the Amhara region lagged behind in terms of infrastructure development and investment. Many Amharas felt excluded from the country's economic progress. Ethnic conflicts in bordering regions, such as those with the Oromo population, led to mass displacements. Thousands of Amharas were forced to flee due to violence and insecurity. The grievances expressed during Hailemariam's tenure laid the groundwork for future clashes between the Amhara region and the TPLF. The tensions boiled over into open conflict during the Tigray War, 2020 to 2022. The protests and struggles of this period solidified a sense of Amhara nationalism, which continued to influence the region's political dynamics in the years to come. Hailemariam Desalegn's tenure marked a turbulent period for the Amhara region, characterized by protests, repression, and growing dissatisfaction with the federal system. The unrest in Amhara, combined with similar issues in other, contributed to Hailemariam's resignation in 2018 and the rise of Abiy Ahmed as prime minister. Regions, eventually leading to widespread crackdowns and a declaration of a state of emergency in 2016. Meles' ambitious economic policies had transformed Ethiopia into one of the fastest-growing. Rising external debt began to weigh heavily on the economy. Foreign investors became cautious, and inflation rates rose. Economies in the world. But without his leadership, sustaining this growth became challenging. While Hailemariam continued many of Meles' policies, the growing political instability and one of Meles' lasting legacies was the ethnic federalist system, granting significant autonomy to Ethiopia's regional states. However, this system came under severe strain after his death. Ethnic groups began to push harder for self-determination, leading to clashes and mass displacements. Ethnic militias became more prominent, and long-standing territorial disputes resurfaced. The federal government struggled to maintain control, exacerbating the country's fragmentation. By 2018, the growing unrest forced Hailemariam Desalegn to resign. Abiy Ahmed, a reformist leader from the Oromo ethnic group, became prime minister. His rise brought hope for a new era of peace and unity. Abiy initiated sweeping reforms, mending relations with Eritrea and opening up political space. These moves earned him the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. However, challenges remained. The optimism of Abiy's early years was short-lived. Tensions with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, a dominant force during Meles' era, escalated into a full-scale war in 2020. This conflict, coupled with economic hardships and ethnic violence, underscored the deep-seated challenges Ethiopia faces. To Meles Zenawi's vision and policies left a complex legacy. He was both a nation-builder and a figure who centralized power. His death exposed the fragility of Ethiopia's political system and the unresolved tensions within the federation. Meles Zenawi's death marked the end of an era, but his influence continues to shape Ethiopia's journey. As the nation navigates its challenges, the question remains: can Ethiopia achieve the unity and prosperity Meles envisioned, or will it continue to grapple with the divisions of its past? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos about history of Ethiopia.